All right. So, the thought of the motorcycle put an end to Ralph's daydream and made sleep impossible. After tossing about on his bed of Kleenex, he got up, poked his head out of the knothole. Keith was awake, lying on his back on the pillows with his cars next to him. He smiled wanly at Ralph. "How are you feeling?" asked Ralph. "Still sort of tired," answered Keith. Ralph climbed through the hole. "Where are your folks?" "They went out for a little while. They're exploring. They'll be back. I'm supposed to take a nap." "Are you gonna?" asked Ralph. "I'd much rather talk to you." Keith leaned over and put the motorcycle on the floor. "Want to ride it?" he asked. "Do I want to ride it?" Ralph could scarcely believe he had heard correctly. "You mean you'll let me? Even after the way I lost it for you?" "Well, you proved you could be responsible when you brought me the aspirin. You're more grown up now." "Aw, thanks," said Ralph modestly. "I guess mice grow up faster than boys." Keith sounded as though he longed to grow up quickly, like a mouse. "You grow a little bit every day," Ralph said, as he removed his crash helmet from its hiding place from behind the curtain. "Yeah, I guess you're right," agreed Keith. "My dad measures me every 6 months against the door frame of our kitchen back in Ohio, and each mark he makes is a little bit higher than the last, but I never feel myself growing." "Aw, you wait long enough and you'll be a grown-up." Ralph felt as if he had said something very wise as he slipped the helmet on. He put the rubber band under his chin and around his whiskers. "I guess so." Keith slumped back on the pillows. "Sometimes, though, it just seems to take so long." "I grew up, didn't I?" asked Ralph. "You said yourself I'd become a responsible mouse." Yes, yes, you did," said Keith thoughtfully. "I guess that's part of the secret. Just getting bigger isn't enough. You have to learn things, like not taking off down a steep hill on a bike when you don't know how to use the brakes. Stuff like that." Ralph walked with a slight swagger to the motorcycle, grabbed the handlebars, and threw his leg across the seat. He remembered to pick up his tail before he started. He took off across the carpet and circled the room, covering the rough parts under the dresser and chair and coming to a screeching halt beside the Beth. "Aw, she's got a good balance on the rough roads," said Ralph with authority. "It's a mighty fine machine." "Say, Ralph," said Keith, suddenly sitting up, "how would you like to come with me when my family leaves the hotel?" "Come with you?" Ralph was stunned. He had expected to live and die in the Mountain View Inn, and now he was being offered the opportunity for travel like he had dreamed about. "Yeah, come with me to San Francisco, and then we'll go back to my house in Ohio." Ralph's first thought was of the motorcycle. If he went with Keith, he would not have to be separated from his pride and joy, the motorcycle. Keith must have sensed Ralph's thoughts because he said, "If you come with me, you could ride the motorcycle every day." Ralph was silent. He had begun to think of other things. His family, the permission he had earned to visit the ground floor, Keith's family and how they might feel about a mouse in their house. "Come on, Ralph," said Keith. "You could travel in my pocket." "Yeah, but your mom doesn't care for mice," Ralph pointed out. "Not running around loose. But she let me keep a couple of white mice once as pets. They still have their cage at home. You'd be very comfortable in it." Comfortable in a cage? Ralph was horrified. No, thank you. Aw, come on. Would you like to be shut up in a cage? Demanded Ralph. Well, no. Neither would I, said Ralph, especially now that I can finally go down to the ground floor. In his disappointment, Keith slumped back on the pillows again. I guess I knew you really wouldn't want to come, he said. I understand. I sure will hate to see this motorcycle leave, said Ralph, and then added hastily, and you too, of course. The boy and the mouse were silent. Both were thinking of their wishes and their regrets that their wishes would not come true. Keith rolled over on his side and propped his head up on his fist. Hey, Ralph, would you like to keep the motorcycle? He asked. Keep it? Me? Sure, said Keith. I can save up my allowance and buy another one when we get back to Ohio. You really mean it? Ralph could scarcely contain his excitement. Keep it, like for my very own? Of course. Well, how come? Ralph wanted to know. I just like to think about you riding it, said Keith. You know, if you grew up enough to be trusted with a mouse-sized motorcycle, maybe someday I could earn a big one. The excitement drained out of Ralph. I can't. I don't have any place to keep it. It's too big to go through the knot hole, and I couldn't hide it behind the curtain forever, because I heard that after Labor Day, when there aren't so many tourists, they take all the curtains down to have them cleaned. That is a problem, agreed Keith. There must be some place in a big hotel like this where you could keep a motorcycle. Ralph sat on the motorcycle, thinking as hard as he could. In the closet? Nope. Couldn't get it out when the door was closed. Under the bed. Eventually it would be fine. How about downstairs? Suggested Keith. I could carry it down for you before we leave. There must be a good hiding place down there someplace. There's the big old grandfather clock my ancestors ran up, said Ralph thoughtfully. You know, hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. Nobody ever cleans under it. But frankly, I really don't care to have it banging and bonging and striking over my head. Keith thought for a while. How about the big TV set in the lobby? He asked. The noise shouldn't bother you because you'd only go up under it at night when everyone was asleep and the TV was turned off. Yes! Ralph was excited. That's a perfect garage for a motorcycle. I saw that when I went downstairs to get the aspirin. The legs are just high enough for the motorcycle, but not high enough for a vacuum cleaner attachment. Then it's settled, said Keith, and rather sternly added, Ralph thought, but first, you've got to ask your mom. Ralph dismounted and ran over to the knothole. He was gone several minutes before he returned to announce in triumph, My mom says I can keep the motorcycle if I promise to drive carefully and wear my crash helmet every single time I ride it. Ah, swell! Keith was just excited as Ralph. When we check out, I'll hide it for you while my parents are busy paying the bill. Oh, I can't thank you enough, said Ralph as he fastened his crash helmet again. I never thought I'd have a motorcycle of my very own. Keith lay back on the pillow and smiled at the mouse climbing onto the motorcycle. It'll be very fun thinking of you riding around that big old hotel lobby when I go back to Ohio this winter and I'm in school. And when the teacher asks us to write an essay or a composition about our summer vacation, I'm going to write about meeting a brave mouse named Ralph who rode a little motorcycle. I'll tell about your bringing the aspirin, Except I'll have to call it a pill, because I don't know how to spell aspirin. Of course, the teacher won't believe it. But she'll probably say I show imagination. Ralph felt proud to think he was going to be written about in an essay in far-off Ohio. He grabbed his tail, gunned the motor, and took off, heading for the threadbare part of the carpet that made such a good speedway. Round and round and round the room he sped, faster and faster, till his whiskers blew back and he was filled with the joy of speed. He longed to wave to Keith, but he realized a good driver must keep both paws on the handle grips. He glanced up and noticed that Keith's eyes were closed. The boy had fallen asleep with a smile on his face. Ralph dragged his heels to stop the motorcycle. Quietly, he parked it beside the bed, and quietly he removed his crash helmet and hid it behind the curtain. He did not want to disturb the sleeping boy. Ralph could wait to ride the motorcycle. It was his to keep. And that is the end. So I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed reading it to you. And as you get to be more proficient readers, I would invite you all to pick up any of the Beverly Cleary books. She's such a great author. She has such a great voice for children's literature. See you guys later. I hope you have a wonderful summer. I'll see you in the fall, somehow, some way.